Welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of Attract Mode. This is a show where I'm going to give you a quick look at a video game that has just come out or a retro title, I'll do that also, and kind of explain what the game is about, how the game is played, and just everything that the game has to offer you. So you can make an informed opinion on whether or not you want to spend some time with it, play it, buy it, what have you. Longtime fans will know that this is kind of what Color and Plays was. But that show kind of became its own thing where I just play games for fun. But I always wanted to come back to this format officially, and that's what this is. The first game in this new show is going to be Unsouled, which just came out on the Xbox One. It's been out on the PC for a little bit. It just came out on the Xbox One on Xbox Game Pass. Let's give it a look. So I'm here at level 3. It's all a pixelated type of graphic art style. And it takes place in what seems to be after some sort of apocalyptic disaster, and now the undead are roaming around, and that's who your enemies are. And this seems to be from the perspective of some sort of high-ranking, maybe military guy from this kingdom that's now, in shambles. The story to me has not been properly explained yet, even though this is supposed to be level 3 of 5, so that's interesting. One thing that you could do in the game is you see these colors that are kind of going out and falling out. They can be absorbed with the press of the A button. And they restore health, they restore energy, they restore your abilities, like point abilities. So normally statues like that you can save at, but I suppose this is a new thing that you can do from it now. It absorbs. As you see, you can move around. It's a 2D game top down. You have a attack button, which is slash. You have the absorb that I showed earlier. You have a dash, which is done with the right trigger. You have special attacks, which is done with B. You have sort of like this magic ability that you use by pressing Y and then another button to choose which magic ability you're using. We'll restore that from here. It's kind of hard to explain that ability. That allows you to interact with certain things in the environment and break them, and it's usually used for story purposes. It's kind of strange. You have a block button, and then finally you have a button for using specific souls that you acquire and can use as abilities and attacks. We'll show that right now. The active ability is on a cooldown timer. And this game is kind of treating itself as being extremely difficult, a la like a Dark Souls. So far, I disagree with that. To me, it feels much more like a Devil May Cry or a God of War. That can be somewhat difficult, but the difficulty is not similar to that of Dark Souls. It really is just like Devil May Cry, where the difficulty is just naturally high. Currently I'm playing this on medium difficulty. There is an easy difficulty that you can do. It absorbs up power, as you can see. Normally there's a lot more enemies to deal with. I've gone up against, I would say, 8 at once. This is the statue, as you can see, that you can use for saving and for upgrading your skills, which the purple orbs are experience points that you use. Right now, as you can see, I don't really have much, so I'm not going to upgrade anything. Here's an example. That glowing orb that you see on that rock, that glowing orb is used for this ability that I showed you before. See the soul focusing, as you can see, and then you use that to manipulate the environment. It's fine, it's there. It fancies itself like a lot of action titles, but its implementation of a lot of its mechanics feel very sloppy. Like, one thing that they really like to push forward about this game is the fact that you can cancel any of your abilities at any time. As you can see, there's the chain ability. As you see, you can kind of chain abilities, and certain abilities are able to chain with each other, such as normal attacks and special attacks as a chain. Normal, special, dash, normal, and then you can kind of repeat that. It's not really well taught to you how you're able to do this ability. You kind of have to time it right before the animation is completed. And to be perfectly honest, it's not the best way of doing things. There, like that was basically a chain. It's just a matter of timing. It's not bad. It's not like difficult to use, but it's just not very intuitive. And more importantly, none of these mechanics really feel amazing. They feel fine. And so far as I've been playing this game now for 2.5 levels, it's okay. But it's nothing that I haven't seen before, and it's nothing that really feels unique or even great to play. Like, this isn't a lot of fun the way a lot of games are. And especially in this genre. Usually in this genre, you have some sort of pull to you that makes you really want to continue on with the game, because there's just like so much action that's gratifying, because the combat is visceral and feels good to play. Not so much here. It's not terrible, but it's not particularly impressive either. Like, that's the chain ability. Here's a whole bunch of enemies. You can kind of see, especially now, how the combat is. Not to mention that something that this game likes to do is they always like to have a ranged opponent at you, so that you always feel unsafe, which isn't necessarily a problem, but so far I've yet to come across an ability that really takes care of that issue. Someone jumped down a tree. The background and the level can be interactable, but you know, sometimes like I'm just kind of mashing buttons here and doing just fine. There, see, I knocked him off that platform. And that's how a typical fight is in this game. See even more of it. The AoE attack. I mean, see, like, this stuff combines and it's fine. It also doesn't help that I feel like the default movement speed is kind of slow, which is why I'm constantly dashing. It's okay, but none of it really grips me. It's fine. Everything about this game is just fine. And I guess for an independent game, that's more than you can ask for, but I have seen other games do this kind of thing better, even from an independent standpoint. See, so like, I use some of the... Yeah, I already know about that. So I used already a lot of the abilities and everything, and once you get going, it's kind of cool, but it still feels kind of clunky, and just doesn't feel good to play. I have found that the combat is just kind of unpolished. I feel that's the proper word. There's just too many things about the game that just feel like they haven't had enough thought put into it. So that's also essentially the end of the game. There's not really much more else to say about it. That's pretty much everything this game has to offer. The story doesn't really tell you so much, at least it hasn't for me thus far. But most importantly, what you need to know is that this is an action game that has what it feels like very complicated mechanics, but in actuality, not really. Just learn the time dashes and you can do stuff like this. Like, here's a story segment that doesn't really feel like much to it. It's currently free on Xbox Game Pass. If this looks even remotely interesting to you, give it a shot. My research has said that this game is only supposed to be about 2 hours. I'm about an hour in. At worst, you'll waste about 2 hours. So far, this isn't really doing much for me. It's fine. It's not great. So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this inaugural episode of Attract Mode. This has been Unsouled on the Xbox One, also available on Steam, and it might be on other platforms as well. Peace and love, gamers and players. Colorwin out.